Data and information become valuable when you're able to use them to make informed management decisions. And here to talk more about that is Dr. Waylon Wise. He's a veterinarian and herd consultant with Telus Agriculture. Dr. Wise, thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk HerdTrax for just a minute. How long has HerdTrax been part of the cattle management suite of software?
Well, we've been collecting cattle data for almost 20 years. And in that amount of time, we've really learned a lot on how the most efficient way is to get that data into some sort of management system where we can actually utilize it. You know, cow-calf guys, they're complicated. It's a diverse field. The data points are incredible. And over that time, we've really learned that a web-enabled program that is accessible from a cell phone is the best way to get cow-calf guys to record their data.
That makes sense. So tell us specifically, how does this help us, whether I'm a feedlot person or a cow-calf operator, how does it help me manage my operation better?
Well, the question is having access to that raw data and getting it into the program. Once it's there, the sky's the limit about how we could use that to manipulate certain breeding groups. We can pick replacement heifers. We can utilize that data to ultimately produce a safer, more profitable system, based on informed decision making.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious, we talk about it, first of all, at the cow-calf level, but does this allow me to track an animal throughout the entire feed yard phase as well?
Yeah, so the struggle in the cow-calf sector is we're the very first data point that gets collected. These calves are, they were just born. They're a little wet when they come out, and they have a lot of different paths that they take through this industry, right? So being on the ground level, we first have to start with the calving records, and we also have to have the ability to move these records to different part of the industry, right? So HerdTrax has been designed to move the entire animal health history from the ground level into different accounts that are also on HerdTrax. It can also be sent to different programs, just like D-Sort program, which we're about to talk about after this, but also engage it with different purebred associations, engage it with different traceability programs in different countries, because it's amazing where these animals end up, and it's very important that traceability is going to be the path to get us there, to be able to utilize this data the most effectively.
I couldn't agree with you more. So let's learn more about D-Sort technology with Dr. Eric Belke. Data and information management systems become valuable when they can be used to make management decisions. And with us to talk more about that is Dr. Eric Belke. He's a feedlot veterinarian and animal science with Telus Agriculture. Dr. Belke, thanks for taking a few minutes with us today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I'm curious. I've looked over this technology, D-Sort. Tell us a little bit about what this is.
Excellent. So D-Sort stands for Dynamic Sort System. And what I think probably the best way to illustrate this is talk about the figures that we have here. Okay. And if we think about this system is primarily at this time used in feed yards and backgrounder and stocker operations, but can be used in any type of animal situation. So if we think about most standard populations, we have unsorted populations of cattle that have different weights. And what D-Sort does is it puts these cattle into different management cohorts, and in the example we'll talk about today, it puts them into different weight groups. So we have an unsorted population of cattle depicted by different colors here. Those cattle have a weight and they belong in a population, they just don't know which population. D-Sort helps them make that decision or puts them into different management cohorts in real time. And to demonstrate how real time this is, I'm actually going to put you into a management cohort.
That's not part of my contract.
And I'm going to ask you to step on the scale.
All right.
And we are going to see which population Kevin ends up in. If we look at the scale, 239 pounds.
Is that a certified scale, Dr. Belke?
That's a certified scale, certified 10 minutes ago. So what we have here is we have the distribution of NCBA attendees. So 239, if we put this into our sort system and hit enter, that is how quick it tells you that you would be in the early sort group. The early sort group is the black, so you're kind of middle of the road.
Gotcha.
Early sort group. So that really demonstrates how the tool works, right?
Gotcha.
Gives you real time and how it works and shows you that you would have ended up in the black or the early, and this part of the distribution within the NCBA attendees. Now, what we really use is, that's just a demonstration of how the tool works.
Yep.
How cattle producers use that is demonstrated here. What we have here is a depiction of a population of cattle that had been sorted. Those cattle came from 4 different pens.
Yep.
In those pens, in every pen, in an unsorted population, you have this wide of a weight distribution, right?
Yep.
After the cattle are sorted though, each pen only has this wide of a weight distribution. It decreases the amount of variation and allows for the efficient marketing of those cattle. So as we go through this, after the cattle are sorted, our team then takes those data, creates a report that says what group they're in, what pen they're in, what the average weight is, and based on what the target that producer wants to market those cattle or sell those feeder cattle, how many days until they do that.
Gotcha. Well, so how does all of this help me as a feed yard operator optimize my production?
So as a feedlot operator, you have lots of goals. One of those is to keep your pens full. So if the population is unsorted, you are selling a few cattle out of each pen, and those 4 pens are occupied for a large amount of time. If the cattle are sorted, then you send all of pen 101, send all of pen 102, and you optimize your feedlot occupancy, all while decreasing the amount of discounts that you could get for heavy carcasses because you're selling some of these in the red group.
So clearly a number of feed yards already have their own data and technology information management systems. Does this integrate seamlessly into those existing systems and software?
That's a really good point they bring up, and truth be told, integration isn't really required. This can be used as a standalone software program, and all it is needed, no additional hardware, no additional software. All we need is access to the internet chute side. We can go on, we download it onto the computer and be sorting cattle immediately. Lots of times we do come on site to answer questions, but if need be, we can actually install this remotely and start sorting cattle as soon as the producer is ready.
Seems like simple technology on one hand, but so valuable on the other.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us today, Dr. Belke.
Appreciate the time.
You bet. Now, if you'd like more information about desort, look up telus.com/AGCG.